everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name's Rachel and this is Stitched Up. So, I hope you're all really well. I am back today to finally discuss my Make 9 plans with you for 2022. So, I'm in a little different position in my sewing room today because I thought I'd just have a little bit of a change around to see if I can find a nicer backdrop really, and I thought this was quite nice because you can see some of my fabrics and we all love looking at fabrics, don't we? So anyway, it is, what day are we on? Wednesday today. I'm working from home today and I have literally just started my lunch break, and yeah, I thought I would use this opportunity to have a chat to you about my Make 9 plans. Now, Make 9, I'm sure you have probably heard of it before, but if you haven't, there's been quite a number of other vloggers that have put out vlogs about what their Make 9 plans are for 2022. So I'm sure you've seen some of those already. However, if you aren't aware of Make 9, it is essentially when I say a challenge, it's not really a challenge as such. Well, I suppose it is, but it's basically, it was set up by a lady called Rochelle who used to have a blog many years ago called Lucky Lucille, and I used to watch it actually. Read it. I used to read it when I first started sewing back in about 2014, and it was based around, she was very sort of vintagey, retro aesthetic, and then over the years she's changed her aesthetic completely. But back in about 2015 she started the Make 9 challenge, and it was born on the back of your best 9 pictures of the year, which people did in a sort of roundup review at the end of every year. And what Rochelle decided to do was, instead of looking back, was look forward, and she thought up the Make 9 challenge. So it was basically around looking at your own wardrobe, your own lifestyle, your own aesthetic, and, you know, looking at the things that you like to wear, things that you like to sew, looking at, for instance, your laundry basket to see which of the kinds of things you wear all the time and replicating that in your sewing journey, maybe having a go at new things, or, you know, looking at the gaps in your wardrobe, that kind of thing, and coming up with a plan for the coming year. Now, I will admit that I have taken part in this on a number of occasions to varying degrees of success, and last year I didn't take part in it at all because I just knew that, yeah, trying to plan a year ahead for me is actually a big thing, because it is in relation to sewing, because I'm really quite flighty and I change my mind so much. And I don't think that I have a particular style or aesthetic. I mean, today I'm wearing a ready-to-wear jumper that's quite a sporty jumper with a little hood on the back, and then I'll go from this to something like a vintage dress or a vintage style fit and flare dress, and then be in joggers and a hoodie, and yeah, and so my style is just all over the place. It's more about how I'm feeling that particular day, regarding what I want to wear. And so for me, planning a Make 9 challenge for a full year is a big thing, because I just know that a lot of the things that I maybe plan at the beginning of the year, I'm just not going to fulfill over the course of the year, because new things will come out, my style might change a little bit, my weight might change a little bit, which then leans me towards wearing a different type of outfit. And yeah, so it's not been successful in the past when I've done it. And I think one of the other reasons for that is because I've not gone into it with any kind of proper plan about what Make 9 means to me, and to everybody else that takes part in it, I think it will mean something very different. So this year I've tried to tackle it from a completely different perspective, and I think this is going to work for me, so fingers crossed. So what I've done is I've got my little journal here, and I decided to think about this on the back of one of the other resolutions that I made for 2022, which is about whittling down some of my fabric stash. And for those of you that have recently joined me, this is not my fabric stash. This is a tiny percentage of it, to be honest. And considering I've only been sewing 7-8 years now, I have amassed quite a stash over that time. And yeah, those of you that have been following me a long time will know that, shall we say. Anyway, I not only have quite a large fabric stash, but I also have a fairly decent pattern stash as well. And we all know that hoarding patterns and hoarding fabric are completely two separate hobbies, along with sewing. So I have a number of patterns that I've had in my stash for a number of years, and I've not made them yet for whatever reason. And I thought this would be a really good opportunity to go through my patterns, rather than just looking at fabrics, actually go through my patterns, look at some of those patterns, why I bought them in the first place, why I've not made them, and pick 9 patterns that for whatever reason I've bought but haven't made but want to make and have just not got round to it, or maybe I didn't have the skills at the time or whatever, and choose 9 patterns from my stash that I'm going to tackle this year. And that's the basis of this, and the plan is that I am going to frame each month of the year, although obviously Make 9 is only 9 months of a 12-month year. I am going to allocate a month per pattern, and then at the beginning of every month it will form part of my plans for that month. And I have planned this in advance, thinking about what I'm doing this year, what holidays we've got coming up or events, that kind of thing, so that I can incorporate the Make 9 into my life a bit more, I think. I hope that sort of makes sense. So yeah, that's the way I'm going to do it. And I am hoping for the majority of these that I will be using fabrics from my stash that I don't want to buy new fabrics for. That in itself is going to be a little bit of a challenge, because some of these patterns are quite fabric hungry, and I don't know if I will have the right volume of a particular type of fabric that suits that pattern in my stash. I'll have to go hunting for that, but we'll see how it goes. So I've made some notes on each of these patterns because I've looked at the fabric base that is needed for that pattern, alongside how much of that fabric that I'm going to need to make it, and when it's going to fit into the year, into my plans, dependent on what I'm going to be doing, if that makes sense. So we'll work through it methodically. And I am going to start with February, because obviously January is, you know, it's a bit of an easy month from, in a vlogger's perspective particularly, because we've just had Vlogmas, which was intense, which I loved, I know you guys loved, and I loved watching, you know, lots of other vloggers that took part in Vlogmas this year, some of which have never done it before. It was great fun, really enjoyed it. And it's always a bit sad, isn't it, in January, because we just don't have as much content out there for us in the sewing community. So January from a vlogger's perspective is a bit of a take a deep breath, just chill, relax after the festivities and getting over the everyday vlogging that we've done in December. And so I haven't really given myself a lot to do this month apart from thinking ahead. So what I'm planning to do is from February onwards, I am going to be having one of my Make 9 patterns as the theme for that month, if that makes sense. So let's start and we'll talk through them. So the first pattern in my Make 9 is this one, which is Vogue V1702, this pattern here. So I bought this actually last year. It's not one of the patterns that's been in my stash for years, but I love these trousers. I just think they're amazing, and it's something that you don't see on the high street very often. You don't see people wearing this kind of thing, which is the kind of thing that I'm always a bit sort of more drawn to, because it's different, you know, it's a little bit different, isn't it? But I love the fact that from the front it looks like trousers with a bit of an overlay, and then from the back it looks like a skirt. So yeah, really love this pattern. Now this pattern is designed obviously for a drapey fabric, so I'm looking at around about 5 meters of crepe or viscose to make these. And what I'm thinking, I've got sort of loads of ideas in my head. Now I know that, you know, crepe viscose floaty trousers like this, we're in the depths of winter. Well, it's actually quite nice and sunny today, but it was really cold this morning. But even in February, we're still going to be in the depths of winter here in the UK. So it's not particularly the type of garment that I'm going to be wearing in February. My plan for these is actually to make them towards the end of February when we're heading into March, and there's 2 reasons for that. One, because we will hopefully, fingers crossed, be heading more towards spring, but 2, I am on a another health kick at the minute. I am losing weight again, and I am hoping by the end of February I'll be back somewhere towards what I was and where I want to be, so that I can make these and they will fit me as I want them to fit me and give me, you know, make me look how I want to look, if that makes sense. So I don't want to make them in the early part of February. It's going to be sort of later on. But as for which fabric I'm going to choose, I have tons of viscose in my stash. It's one of my favourite fabrics to sew and wear, but I don't have that many 5 metre pieces, so it's going to be a bit of a challenge. I am thinking, well, I'm not decided yet whether I'm leaning towards a print or a plain. I'm actually even thinking, would a print in the actual trousers but a plain overlay that sort of blends, that complements the print, would that work? I don't know, but I'm thinking that, you know, with a little black vest top, that could look really nice for spring. So that's my plan for those trousers. And yeah, I haven't read the instructions yet, so I'm assuming obviously that the overlay is just a completely separate piece of fabric and it's not really interlinked with the trousers. I mean, obviously it's attached, but I'm thinking that that could work. You know, if I can find a viscose, a print viscose for the main trousers and a complementary overlay, I think that could look really nice and really effective. So yeah, I think a lot of February is going to be looking at the fabrics that I've got and picking out fabrics that that might work for that. So fingers crossed we can get something that's super for that. Yeah, so that's number 1. Moving on to my next Make 9 pattern, which is going to be the pattern that I make in March. I'm looking down at my book here, so I'm sorry if I'm not looking at you directly. But in March, I want to make this, which is the Deer and Doe Bruyere. It's you can't see that, can you, at all because of my face? But if I just move myself out the way, hopefully you can see this pattern. But if not, I'll put another picture here. Now, as you can see from the pattern envelope compared to the pattern picture that's going to be up here, it looks completely different, and that's because I have had this pattern in my stash since this came out years ago and I've never made it. It has been opened, but I don't even think I've had the contents out of the envelope. Now, Deer and Doe have obviously rebranded their pattern packaging, so this is their old design, which tells you obviously how long I've had this pattern, and I haven't made this shirt before. I really want to make it. I've wanted to make it for years. I don't know why I haven't made it. I think probably because with it being really cinched in with a waistband, I think maybe at the time I thought this is going to need a lot of fitting to get the length right and get the waistband in the right place, and I just bypassed it. But I want to make the sleeveless version, which hopefully you might be able to see. No, you really can't see. I think I'm a little bit overexposed with my camera settings, so sorry about that, but I will put a better picture there. I want to make the sleeveless version, but I want to lengthen it into more of a dress that hits just above the knee. In May, we are going on holiday to Portugal, and the plan is that I'm going to make this outfit like a white embroidered cotton fabric, sleeveless, longer length, into a dress that will be fabulous for wearing with maybe a tan belt and tan sandals and a little bag, strolling along promenade in Portugal with my husband. Oh, I can just picture it now. It will be amazing. So that is going to be my plan for March. I want to get it made in March because there are a number of these patterns that I'm planning to make as part of a holiday wardrobe for when we go to Portugal. And so I think, you know, if I can get one of these made up in the months leading up to Portugal in May, I think that's going to sort of work really well. So yeah, I think that will be really nice to have a go at that. So that is going to be the pattern from a Make 9 for March. It's going to take 3 meters potentially, although I don't see why it would take 3 meters, to be honest. Probably more like 2, but I have 3 meters of fabric already in my stash that I'm thinking of that will work really well for that. So that's going to be March's plan. Okay, moving on to pattern number 3, and this is going to be made in April, and it is the Now and Then Patterns Florin wrap dress, which is this one here. Again, I will put a better picture up here. I think I bought this either in 2021 or 2020, but I bought this with the intention of making it straight away, and I didn't get around to it. It did feature in one of my plans for one of the months, probably whenever it was, and yeah, I didn't get it made. Now this needs to be in a sort of lightweight woven fabric, and I'm going to probably make it out of a cotton lawn. I am planning to make the yellow dress, which hopefully with a better picture you will see here. But it is a gorgeous dress with, you know, a fairly sort of square neckline. It's got that wrap over detail at the back, lovely pockets, you know, fit and flare skirt. Again, the thought process around this is that it's going to be what I'm going to take on holiday with me in May, and I am going to need 3.5 meters of fabric for this dress. I have tons of cotton lawns, many of which are here because they are all my Lady McElroy fabrics up there, and yes, I think this will be fabulous in one of those for my holiday. So that is essentially going to be my plan for April. Moving into May, we go to Portugal mid-May, so I want to get this next pattern made up in the early part of May so that I've got it with me to take on holiday. But this is another dress, and this is the Experimental Space Rosalee dress, which is this pattern here. Again, picture coming up in the corner here. Now, this again needs to be made out of a sort of light to medium weight woven fabric, and I'm planning to use another cotton lawn. Now this pattern does say it needs 4 meters of fabric, which I'm really struggling to understand how, unless it's fully lined. Again, I've not had the instructions out of here at the minute. The packaging for these patterns is absolutely stunning. It's really, really gorgeous, and you can't see that at all. So, but essentially, you know, you've got sort of a vest type bodice with this lovely little cutout detail on the back, a panelled skirt with pockets, and I'm going to make the maxi length version because I think that will be fabulous for my holiday, and it's the only maxi dress that I'm going to be taking. And yeah, it's just going to be perfect for a week in the sun. So I still, as I say, even if it's lined, I can always line it with a different, you know, plain cotton lawn, a white one. I do have some of that in my linings cubby hole down there somewhere. So I think, you know, I possibly won't need 4 meters of the fashion fabric. 2 secs while I change my battery. So yeah, I think again, this might end up being a Lady McElroy fabric, and I've got lots of gorgeous cotton lawns in my stash, so I'm sure I can pick something suitable for this. But yeah, the plan with this one is to make it in the early part of May so that I can take that on holiday as well. Okay, moving forward to June, so this is going to be post-holiday. My next pattern is this one, which is the Megan Nielsen Matilda dress. Now, again, I have had this pattern in my stash ever since this was released, and I absolutely adore it because I think it's got some great features. You know, it's your typical shirt dress, but it has a yoke and panelled back. It's got pockets. It's got, you know, a panelled front as well as really lovely breast pockets as well, and I just love it. I absolutely love it, and I've no idea why I haven't made it yet. So the Matilda dress takes 3.5 meters of fabric. With all these patterns, I will have added in probably between 1/4 meter extra because I need that for my height. And this is going to be made out of probably another cotton lawn or maybe even a chambray as well. I really fancy a pale blue plain chambray dress. I think that will look really nice, or even a mid blue, I'm not sure. Depends if I've got enough in my stash. I do have some chambray in my stash, but I'm not sure if I have enough to be able to make this dress, and I really don't want to buy anything new. So I think that's probably my first thoughts around what I want for this particular pattern. But if I don't have enough chambray, I'll pick another cotton lawn. So really, really looking forward to making that one in June. And I think because it's still going to be hopefully midsummer by that point, it means that I'm going to have plenty of wear out of that dress. So yeah, that's really exciting. So that's going to be my focus for June. Moving on to July. Moving on to July, I am going to make my second Deer and Doe pattern of the Make 9, which is the Narcisse trousers. Now this is a fairly recent purchase. I actually bought this just before Christmas. I think it might have even been in the Black Friday sale, I'm not quite sure. But I have fancied having a go at these trousers for quite some time. However, as we know, trousers are fairly easy to sew, but a little bit more challenging for getting the fit right. And at the minute, with the extra weight that I'm carrying and my body shape as it is, I don't want to be attempting these, even though they would probably be more seasonally appropriate. So I'm planning to leave these while July, because by that point, hopefully I will be well at my target weight and in a much better position to be able to twirl these and make all the adjustments and fit changes that I will need to make to get them to fit me and look how I want them to look. So the plan is that I do want to just make these either in a plain black or a plain navy. This pattern takes 2.5 meters of fabric, so yeah, I will have something along those lines in my stash, and I quite fancy putting the satin side stripe down the sides. I think that will just elevate them into something quite classy and elegant. So that's going to be my plan for July. Depends on what fabric I've got in my stash. I've got quite a number of plains upstairs that I can use, and at the very least I can twirl them out of something that I already have rather than buying new. But I may end up, dependent on what fabric I've got in my stash upstairs, I might end up buying some Lady McElroy nice fabric to make those out of, but we'll see how things go. Okay, moving on to August. The next pattern I have for my plans for August is this one, which is the Casablanca dress by How to Do Fashion, which is this one here. So this pattern I've had for a couple of years. How to Do Fashion patterns, I have never made any of their patterns before, but they have some amazing designs, and when this was released I absolutely fell in love with it straight away. There are two versions for this dress. There is the one that you can see on the front with the little French cuffs and the sort of collar detail that wraps over, and then there is another version that has buttons all down the front without the French cuffs, and it doesn't have the collar, and it's not a wrap. So I'm going to make this version. I just think it's stunning, beautiful. August time, it's still going to be fairly warm, so you know, but I'm thinking more heading towards autumn, that this might work quite well. So this pattern needs 4.5 meters of fabric, and again I'm thinking of cotton lawn, but you know, it's later on in the year and we'll see what my thoughts are around that at that point. But that's going to be my plan for August. Moving forward into September, I am planning to make my first jacket in my Make 9 plans of the year, and that is this Donna Karan jacket, which is Vogue V1440, and it's this one. So I actually bought this pattern a few years ago, and it was because another blogger that I followed a few years ago made this shirt, and it was just gorgeous. Now when you first look at this you think, well, it's just a sleeveless white shirt, but it's got some really lovely features on the back. It's got like a little diamond, hopefully if I can find a picture I will insert it here, but it has like a little diamond cut out of the back, and it's just really lovely. And this shirt, I bought this pattern for the shirt, but actually I've never made the shirt, but I'm going to make the jacket. I might get around to making the shirt this summer as well, who knows. But the plan for the Make 9 is the jacket. Now the fabric choices for this are supposed to be tweed. So I have a fairly drapey sort of pink and gold tweed fabric in my stash that I got from Colville. I think I've got a 3 meter piece, and this pattern does take 2.5 meters, and my plan is to have a go at it out of that because I just think it will be awesome. So this is going to be my September plans. I think that'll still work for late summer, and it's going to be great to have like a little sort of, you know, fairly cropped jacket with some nice features. So that's going to be September's Make 9 plan. And then my final pattern is another jacket, and this pattern I have had in my stash forever. It's probably one of the earliest patterns that I actually bought, and at the time the only indie patterns that you could get in the UK were by UK indie designers, and this is a Canadian designer that I had to actually buy it direct from Canada. So I think it took about 2 weeks to get here, and I had to pay all the extra shipping and customs charges and all that kind of stuff, which looking back now is just bonkers, because now, you know, we can get patterns from designers from all over the world in the UK, which is fantastic, and it's great for us in the sewing community, isn't it? But this is the Sewaholic Cordova jacket, and this is it here. Now, this jacket pattern I bought, as I say, when I was a fairly novice sewer, and I've never attempted it. I have the fabric and I have the lining for it, but I think, you know, this was very much an aspirational pattern for me at the time, because I loved the aesthetic of it, I loved the design of it, but I just did not have anywhere near the skills to be able to make this. I still don't know if I have, to be fair, but time will tell. This is going to be October's plan, and the fabric I've got for it is actually a wool tweed, and it is in a gorgeous sort of heather purple colour, and yeah, it's just going to be amazing. So this pattern takes 2 meters, which is great, and I know that I've got the fabric in my stash for it. I'm going to make view A, which has got like a double peplum. I don't know if that's going to show up. Probably not, but the version that's got the double peplum is the version that I want to make, and this is going to be October's Make 9 plan, and it's actually the last pattern in my Make 9. So yeah, let me know what you think down below. What I've wanted to do with this is actually, you know, pick out things that you don't normally see, but things that I've already got in my stash. So one of the reasons why I started sewing was because I wanted to make, not just make clothes to fit me, but make things that you can't just buy off the peg, and that what everybody else up and down the street is wearing. And what I do sometimes see in the sewing community is that a new pattern will come out and everybody's making it, and there's nothing wrong with that, but you know, I sometimes just want to pick things that are a little bit different, that you don't see everybody's making this particular pattern. And I know that, you know, things can be tailored to people's different likes and tastes and design, etc. But, you know, I just want to make something that's different, and I'm hoping that you can see from my Make 9 choices that I've chosen a number of patterns that you may never have heard of before, you may never have seen before, and there might not be that many out there. And so I'm really excited to sort of see how that develops over the coming year. I don't know if I'm going to get all these made. I don't know how successful I'm going to be at this, but certainly this is the way that I'm trying to approach this year, because it's going to fit in with that I'm not having to buy new patterns or fabric, hopefully, to be able to make these things. And I'm finally going to get some of these things made that have been languishing in my stashes, either my pattern or fabric stashes, for so long, and they deserve to be made up. They deserve to be showcased, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to see how that works out. So I think what is probably going to happen is, because I know that I've mentioned before that I want to try and look at collections this year, and I think it's going to be a big ask to come up with a monthly collection, in view of the fact that I work and have a home to run and a family and everything, all that goes along with that. But I think that if I can incorporate some of these patterns that will form part of my monthly plans and my monthly makes into a collection of some sort for that season or that particular event that I'm thinking about when I'm making it, for instance, you know, the holiday that we're planning, etc., then if I can sort of feed that into my collection somehow and build a collection around it, then I think that might work for me quite well. So we'll see how that develops over the year. I just don't know at this stage, but you know, hey ho, it might all go completely wrong and we may get to the end of February and I haven't even made those trousers, but you know, that's life. So let me know in the comments down below what you think of my plans. Do you have any Make 9 plans? I'd be really, really interested to hear how you're approaching it if you are going to take part in it. I do think it's a big ask, planning 9 things over a year and thinking about how that's going to fit in with your life, etc., and your sewing plans, etc. But hopefully I might get some more done this year and it might be a bit more successful than it has been previously. So anyway, right, that's it from me today. So I hope you've enjoyed listening to me ramble on about some of these patterns, and I will hopefully be back with you really soon. Take care, bye bye.